Well, hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Amazing Seller Podcast. This is episode number 713, and today I'm excited because I'm going to share with you how this guy created a seven-figure business not selling one item on Amazon and how he did it selling spy gear. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Now, here's the other thing I want to share with you. I met him in person at a TAS meetup in Fort Worth, Texas. As you may have heard, we're having an event called Brand Accelerator Live coming up here, and depending on when you're listening to this, it's going to be coming up very shortly in September. But I met him there because we were there. I say we, myself and my team, we were there scoping out the venue for the event. And I said, you know what, while we're here, we might as well do a TAS meetup because we try to do those wherever we are, maybe traveling to, or if there's an event. Whatever, it's a great way to hang out with some TASers, some action takers, and that's what we did. And he showed up, and I didn't realize that he's also a mutual friend. We have a mutual friend, Mike Jackness, and also Andrew Udarian, and so I didn't realize that. But he showed up, and he's like, I've been wanting to meet you, and I figured I'd come by and get to shake your hand and just kind of shoot the breeze a little bit, and that's what we did. And then he started to tell me his story. And I'm like, holy cow, we got to get you on the podcast because what you're telling me is you're not selling anything on Amazon right now and you're still a seven-figure business. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, we got to hear more about this. And so I started digging into his story and I said, you know what, we definitely got to get you on. The crazy thing is when I got him on here to do this interview or discussion that we had, we started to dig into really how he even arrived at this new business or having this new business. And it's crazy how you can see the chain of events that generally happen that lead you there, which is crazy. So you're going to kind of hear from how he was living in his parents' basement to how he landed a job, which introduced him to surveillance. And then from there, how he landed another opportunity to start another business with one of the, I think it's the co-creators, he'll tell you in the interview, of the show Cheaters. I don't know if you guys ever remember that show where people would spy on their significant other and see if they were cheating. Well, he was able to partner with him. You're going to hear about that and then how that kind of fell apart and then how he, now started this other business about 5 years ago now. But then also I found out that he landed an interview on the Tim Ferris show. And I was like, well, wait a minute here. Time out. We got to hear about that. So we dig into that. And this is really, really a great interview. And I can't wait for you guys to hear it. Again, just to kind of give you some of those bullet points, we're going to talk about how he is running a business without having any sales on Amazon. And then also how he gets traffic today, how he is going to get traffic in the future, some things that he feels is a huge advantage and a huge opportunity for you and me to be able to go out there if we're willing to put in the effort, the work. And some of these things, actually a lot of these things, are things that I've already kind of mentioned, but we're going to dig into it and you're going to hear his philosophy on that as well. All right. So again, this happened because I met someone in person. If you're not going to meetups or events, you need to start doing that. And this is where I should remind you that if you're not attending Brand Accelerator Live yet, you probably should, because people like Alan is going to be there or are going to be there. And if I didn't mention his name is Alan Walton. Great guy. But there's people like this that you meet along the way. And I'm telling you right now, a lot of times those relationships turn into something else or another connection that's made because you've actually shook hands and you got to hang out for a little bit and kind of, shoot the breeze a little bit, if you will. All right. So again, brandacceleratorlive.com. That's our upcoming event. I am recruiting and having a whole bunch of action takers come together for 2 solid days. And I've got some great expert speakers that are coming in that are going to be not just speaking, but teaching. And there's no fluff here. This is going to be actionable sessions that are going to be able to help you build and grow your business and your brand. So brandacceleratorlive.com. Definitely go check it out if there's still tickets available. If not, get on that wait list and we'll let you know if we have any that open up. All right. So with that being said, let's dive into this interview that I did with my now new good friend, Alan Walton. Enjoy. Hey, Alan, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, man. How you doing?
Doing real well. Actually, just before the call, I was saying things are really not all that great, but I'm tempted to just say doing real well so I didn't have to get into the weeds on it. But
well, I think we're going to get into the weeds. I think that's important. That's why I wanted you to come on, is to really talk about your story. But you and we met recently in Texas. Actually, we were there scoping out our venue for Brand Accelerator Live, and we had a little TAS meetup, and you showed up, and we have some mutual friends, Mike Jackness being one of them, and I think Andrew Udarian too as well, right?
Yeah.
Definitely. So we've got some mutual friends, and you showed up, and you're like, I've wanted to just kind of swing by and kind of get to meet you and meet the people, and then here we are. So we're gonna dive into your story, because you're a little different than everyone else out there. And what I mean by is you're not dependent on Amazon, because you're not even selling on Amazon right now, are you, or are you at all?
No. Yeah, I've I started my company about 5 years ago, and we have not had a single sale on Amazon.
That's crazy. We got to talk about that. So was that by design, or was that you just haven't gotten around to it yet?
There's a couple of different reasons that I've never went the Amazon route. So first of all, I sell surveillance equipment. So I guess you could kind of call it spy gear, surveillance equipment, things like hidden cameras, GPS trackers, covert audio, all sorts of weird little things. And Amazon actually prohibits a lot of those items. So if you went, I can't remember what it is. I think it's called the prohibited items list.
Okay.
Most of the stuff I sell is just straight up prohibited. That doesn't mean there aren't people selling it on Amazon, because I go there all the time. And, there's some international sellers that get a listing up, but it eventually gets deleted. Amazon's pretty good about pulling those down. And so that was one of the main reasons. And then the stuff that wasn't prohibited, let's say hidden cameras, they actually do allow those. However, the problem becomes people use these products, and within 24 to 48 hours or whatever, or a week, they generally get the answer that they needed. They found out who was stealing something from the break room, or they found out what employee was doing something that they shouldn't have been doing. And then they just straight up return the item because they don't need it anymore.
Really?
So, yeah, they treat it like a renting service. And I know this because at a previous company that I worked at, that was the exact same problem that they had. So that's why when I started my company, I just didn't even bother with Amazon.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's a technical product, requires a lot of tech support. I've noticed that Amazon customers in particular seem to be very sensitive. If the product doesn't work right out of the box, then they get very, they just want to send it back and get a refund. They're not willing to go through us teaching them how to use the product. So
Gotcha. Let's back up. Let's talk about how you got to this point, though. Because you had a really cool story. We could share that maybe a little bit later, but how you were traveling. I think it was in China, and you took this. It was either a subway or a train.
Oh yeah,
that was a crazy story. But maybe we'll talk about that, just to kind of give people a little glimpse into your world. But let's go back a little bit. So what got you really into e-commerce or selling online in general? Let's go back a little bit and kind of get people caught up to how you got to where you are today.
Sure. So before we can talk about selling online, I need to take just go back a couple steps, because I was working in a brick and mortar retail store. So here in Texas, we have a chain of surveillance stores, all owned by the same guy. They had multiple locations. And one day I was eating at a brunch place next door. And at the time I was I was unemployed. I was playing World of Warcraft way too much. And my parents weren't really super happy about it, because, I was still living at home. This was 10 years ago. And there was a surveillance store next door that sold just regular CCTV equipment for businesses and homes, and but then they also sold spy gear, and I thought that was kind of cool. And they had a help wanted sign, and my mom actually made me apply. So I had to go inside and ask for an application. I filled it out. I didn't hear anything back, but then I don't know. I decided to go back and follow up on the application, and I guess they liked that, and I ended up getting a job there. And so that's where I learned about surveillance and equipment and all the different types of customers that use this stuff. So we're talking private investigators, police departments, insurance fraud, just regular people that have problems and they need this sort of stuff to, solve whatever issue they're going through, right? that's causing them like some sort of emotional or financial distress. And so I worked in the store for 2 years. I learned everything you could want to know about sales, because, I was talking face to face with customers. I would close sales. I would manage inventory. I would try and sell stuff on Craigslist. So I guess that's kind of where the e-commerce thing started.
Okay. Yeah.
But then one of my customers was actually pretty, like, it's a big reality TV show. Most people have heard of it. It's not on the air anymore. It's called Cheaters.
Yeah, I know that one.
Yeah, so they were a customer of mine. They would buy, they had a private investigator that would buy stuff from me. And I used to just chat with them because it was fun. It was like it was just a TV show. Yeah. And most people had heard of it. And so it's just kind of fun to be with people who are like in the TV industry or whatever.
Sure.
And one day the guy that I did business with, he came in and he's like, hey, look, the guy that produces the show is really interested in opening up his own spy shops like around the country. And so I went and had lunch with them, and I was they pitched me on it, wanted to see if I would leave my company and go start something with them. And I was like, I'll do it, but I do not want to open a brick and mortar store because it just is terrible. So let's go online, and then we can use this television show that you guys have that airs internationally, and we can start an online store, and we could sell everything there. And then, that way we're not having to deal with physical locations at all, and we can just ship customers their product.
Sure.
And so I went and did that for like 3 years. And over that time, that's where I learned about e-commerce. The day that I had lunch with those guys, I actually started calling around to all the Barnes and Nobles to find a copy of Building a Yahoo Store for Dummies, because Yahoo was the best e-commerce.
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. And it hasn't changed a bit in the last 10 years, in case anyone's wondering. It's still very much the same. But went and bought a book on how to start a Yahoo store for dummies. And then I actually reached out to the author, who sent me even more resources. And then I learned about just all that stuff, SEO, paid ads, self-taught myself, all of that, and ran that company for a couple of years. Read the 4 Hour Workweek. And when I felt like it was time to leave that company, about a month after I left, I decided, you know what? I've read this, amazing book that's like changed my outlook on life and just brought me so much opportunity. Really grateful for the work that Tim Ferris has done. And I think that I owe it to myself to give this a shot. And so I decided to start my own company, which is called Spy Guy.
Nice. Love it.
Yeah. And I started that just over 5 years ago.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. Let me ask you this, though. I know people are going to be asking this as well. Why did you leave that company then? I mean, it seems like that'd be a great opportunity. You get national exposure. What happened there? It
was a great opportunity. I got to learn so much by running that. But after about 2.5 years, there was just some trouble within the company that had. I don't know how much I want to get into it.
No, you don't have to. I mean, I think everyone's just kind of curious.
You have a good editor? Because I can tell you.
Let's wait on that. We'll do that after, and then we'll see what we can piece in.
Sure. That sounds good.
But so it just was internally, there was some conflicts, there was some issues within a company. Anytime you have a company.
I didn't like how the company was being run.
Yeah.
So even though I started this whole thing from the ground up, and the guy that, funded the entire operation, he still owned all of it because I was young and I didn't know any better. And, so I didn't really have any leverage there at all.
Gotcha.
No equity or anything. And so even though I did the whole thing by myself for a few years, plus all the employees I ran, we just didn't see eye to eye. I had no leverage on it. I felt like an employee at that time. And I was just around all these really amazing people. And I felt like I was being held back by being at this company where I was being paid well, but I just hated it. I just couldn't work for them anymore. And so I just felt the need to leave. I didn't even have a backup plan. I just left. I gave 2 weeks notice because I didn't want to get in any trouble or anything like that. And then I just did nothing for a month afterwards. And then I was like, okay, you know what? If I've been this Tim Ferris fanboy for the last however many years, last 5 years, it's probably time to actually put up or shut up and actually start my own company. And so that's, how that happened.
You know what's cool about that story though, Alan, is and I think you'd agree, that 2-3 years, whatever of that time is what got you to where you are today, in a sense, right? It's
Without
those lessons.
Yeah, that was entirely worth it. I mean,
huge.
I got to learn everything about e-commerce, just somebody else's dollar. Like I got all sorts of different stuff, and I was given full control over it. And I'm super grateful about it.
So I mean, and some people would be, I mean, I'm sure you were upset at stuff at the time, but I mean, now you're looking back at it, that was kind of like a college education, better because you're actually in the trenches doing it and building and forced to learn certain things and all of that. So, and
this guy didn't even know me at all. Like crazy. He just knew that I knew what I was talking about and gave me a chance. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's really good. And now you have your own spy company in a sense, which is pretty awesome. So let me actually ask you this though. So Tim Ferris, were you on his show or were you, because I think I seen a part where you were either on his show or you had some communications with him?
Yeah, I was on his show back in December of 2018. So at the time of recording, that was probably like 9 months ago.
Okay. And how did you land that?
Man, it was a long journey that actually just ended up like falling into my lap like at the last minute. It's kind of weird. Like I had worked for a long time to just kind of like, everyone wants to meet their heroes.
Sure.
And so I had always been trying to like somehow get his attention or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so like responding to him on Twitter and Facebook or like sending him a 4 Hour Workweek case study because he's got like a web form on his website where you can submit that sort of stuff.
Sure.
And so basically how this ended up happening was back in, I want to say it was 2016. So 3 years ago, I was using a tool called Help a Reporter Out.
Okay.
And Haro for short. It's actually one of the tools that he lists in 4 Hour Workweek as being really helpful for getting media.
Okay.
And sure enough, I see a listing in there. It's somebody who's writing for Forbes, and she's looking for $1 million one-person businesses. And I'm like, okay, this is the one that I need to respond to, because there's a lot of crap on that service. But Forbes, $1 million one-person business, I don't think there's going to be a lot of people responding to this one.
Yeah.
I reached out, and she's an author. Her name is Elaine Pofelt, and she did a story about me and 3 other people who were running $1 million one-person businesses. Mm-hmm. And in my interview, I had mentioned Tim a bunch. And when the interview went live on Forbes, they decided to lead with a photo of Tim Ferris on the website.
Okay.
And so I was like, dude, I got to get this in front of Tim. I think he's really going to enjoy it, and maybe he'll like share it with his audience, and maybe I can get a little bit more exposure that way. And so I actually set up alerts on my phone for like Twitter alerts so that I could see the moment that he posted. And I waited until he did like a genuine post and not like a scheduled one.
Yeah.
And like he's asking his audience for feedback or whatever. And then I sent him the Forbes URL like instantly. And I'm like, hey, Tim, got interviewed for Forbes with a few other people. And they actually are featuring you in the article because we were all inspired by the 4 Hour Workweek. And he immediately like retweeted it to everyone, put it on his email list, put it on Facebook and all that other stuff. And then it like shot up to like hundreds of thousands of views like over the next couple of days.
Oh my gosh.
And so that's Elaine ended up getting a book deal. So that segment, like $1 million one-person businesses, it ended up not segment, the story or whatever. Yeah. It ended up being a recurring feature on Forbes. And they covered a bunch of other entrepreneurs that were running $1 million one-person businesses. She gets a book deal, and then she is promoting her book. And I'm pretty sure that she and Tim are like under the same like publishing company.
Oh, wow.
And so she got introduced to Tim, and then she pitched him on the idea of doing 4 Hour Workweek case studies on his podcast because she had run into so many of them. And he had picked me from, so she gave him a list of names and he pitched me on there. And then Elaine asked if I was if I was interested in being on his podcast. And so I was actually going down to Austin anyways, like the next day for an event that she was having. And we ended up doing the podcast like the next day.
Now, did you record the podcast in person or was that like we're doing? Okay.
Also, it was in person. And it was cool. It was great. Had a really good time.
Yeah, I was going to say. So, what was it? Was it everything you expected?
Yeah. Tim is Tim's exactly who you think he is. Mm-hmm. He's super cool, super down to earth, super smart, great to hang out with, really funny, full of just I'm coming off like I'm in love with him, and I kind of am.
Well, you have a man crush. It's okay.
Yeah. So if you think Tim's a cool dude and he's helped you out, then yeah, he's exactly who you think he is. If you're one of these people that don't really get what makes Tim and why people like him, then I don't know that I'm ever going to convince you otherwise. Right. But yeah, he's a really cool dude, and
that's awesome.
I'm grateful that the whole thing happened. It felt very like cathartic or whatever.
Yeah.
Just because I owe a lot of the good things that have happened in my life came from meeting other people or reading Tim's work and then meeting other people that also, we could bond over it and stuff. So
that's fantastic, man. I love that. I just love digging into like how things, I mean, even going in, applying for a job, getting the job in, basically surveillance, and then
so weird, right?
And then having Cheaters guy come in, and then you strike a deal there, and then from there you leave that, and in the process you're reading 4 Hour Workweek, and you're stalking. Should I say stalking Tim Ferris? And so you're kind of stalking him in a good way, and then you get on his show. It's just amazing. I love all these. I usually call these like take action moments. It's kind of like there's these little moments that you took an action and then look at the effect that it had on your life and your career. And it's amazing. I love seeing all of that stuff. So that's really cool. I didn't even know that. I thought I remember seeing that you were on Tim Ferris.
We never talked about it or anything.
That's awesome. And oh, by the way, I did talk to Mike Jackness, after you and I had met, and I told him I had met you and stuff, and he goes, "Oh yeah, Alan's an awesome guy." So yeah, he said you're
Mike's really cool.
No, it's a great. Can
I share Mike's story? Can I share Mike's story just real quick?
Yeah, share it, please.
I'll make it super brief.
Unless
for the first time. It's a great.
Can you embarrass him? I would really like to embarrass him here on the show. We can't do that? Okay.
Well, all right. I can still share it. It will reveal that he is a total workaholic. Basically, we met for like the first time, and we were chatting, and it was like the end of the year, like in 2016. Okay. And we were hanging out and stuff, and I'm like, man, I could just really use vacation. I just haven't had any time to just wind down from all the work that I've been doing, and I don't know, you got any recommendations? And he's like, well, you ever think about going to Costa Rica? And I was like, no, but okay, tell me. And he's like, yeah, I used to live in Costa Rica, and I actually have a place down there. He has like a timeshare, and he goes, I have a timeshare and I got a full week, and I'm not going to be able to go because I'm too busy. Do you want to go down there with a bunch of your friends or whatever? And I'm like, are you for real? Like, we just met. And he's like, yeah, no, it's cool. And so he let me stay at his place in Costa Rica for like 5 or 6 days. And I was able to fly a bunch of my friends down, and we had a great time.
Yeah, that's hysterical.
While he was working.
Yeah, that's hysterical. Well, it's funny. I actually just got back from Austin, actually. I was hanging out with Mike and Steve Chu and Greg Mercer, and we found a new love for pickleball, by the way. You ever play pickleball?
Everyone is talking about pickleball right now.
I know, it's crazy, right? So Greg actually bought some rackets, and then I arrived, and they're like, we're playing pickleball. I'm like, I've never played. And they're like, it's just like tennis, and Mike's a pretty good tennis player. And so anyway, it got pretty intense. And so every opening that we had to slide over to the court, we did. And it was really hot, humid, but it was a lot of fun. And so now we have this running joke. I didn't realize that I have courts near my house. And now when I got back, I started documenting myself doing kind of practicing. And I'm like, you guys wait, because the next time we meet, we're having a tournament, and I'm going to kick all your butts. So now we have this running joke about all of that. So and Andrew, Mike had to stop playing because his feet were so sore. I'm not even kidding. He had like blisters on his feet, so we were busting on him because he's supposed to take a hike and stuff. It was funny, but it was a mess. But anyway, go ahead.
Soft. He's just driving an RV around the country, isn't he?
I know, pretty much. Yeah. So what were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say, next time Andrew Udarian, he's doing his e-commerce Feel Live. They always have a basketball tournament or whatever for attendees, and I'm like, I have no interest in playing basketball, but I would totally do a pickleball.
Oh, that'd be amazing, right?
Yeah. And so I don't know if you've gone to one of those before, but I've seen Steve there, and and Mike is there, and I think Greg went once. But
okay, yeah, I have not attended, but I may in the future. Actually, Andrew and I have become better friends over the past couple of years. So yeah, I would definitely attend that. I just got to see what the dates are. But anyway, let's move on here into what's going on now in your world. You have this new business. Well, I say new business, 5 years now?
Yeah, just over 5 years.
Just over 5 years. And okay, so what was it like to start from scratch again? Let's talk about that.
Oh, so like after I quit that company?
Yeah, and you're like, okay, now what do I do? You know? And so then you decide to start your own company. What was that like?
Yeah. Quit that one company, just kind of moped around for like a month. I didn't really do anything. Honestly, it's a blur. Like I couldn't tell you a single thing that I did at that time. But I do remember getting a feeling in the pit of my stomach when I logged into my bank account and I saw those numbers going down because I wasn't getting a paycheck anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I need to decide what I'm going to do here. And do I want to go work for somebody else after, what I just went through, or do I want to start my own thing? And so what I ended up doing was I reread the 4 Hour Workweek. I took extensive notes on it all over again. I'd already done this like quite a number of times, but I got a yellow legal pad and I wrote notes for the entire book. I answered all the questions and stuff like that. I did all of the exercises like fear setting. And I was like, dude, this could actually work out. And so I decided to pick all the tools that I was going to use to run my business, right? Mm-hmm. So e-commerce platform was a big one. Decided to go with Shopify because while I was goofing around with Yahoo and paying tens of thousands to developers at the time, when I started my own company, I could just buy a theme on the Shopify store for $140. Right. And it was great out of the box. Like whoever designed it was like really had taste, and they had studied like conversion rate optimization and just all this other really interesting stuff. And so I was able to get that theme for $140, incorporated the company for like $300. I set up the entire website and actually made the company like incorporated and legit, and came up with a branding and logo and stuff all for under $1,000.
Wow.
And but then I had to purchase inventory, and so I purchased around $10,000 in inventory. I had enough for that in the bank. Mm-hmm. And then I was able to talk some of my long-term suppliers into sending me equipment. Usually they wouldn't give me like net 30 terms or anything like that before at the previous company, but they did it this time because I was just starting out. They were helping me. They knew that I'd figure it all out. And and some of them were willing to drop ship it for me. And so what was your AdWords and went live?
I was going to ask you about traffic. So what was it? Was AdWords was your first kind of traffic?
To get started because I needed sales like immediately, and I didn't have time to play the SEO game at all. I knew that this wasn't going to work on social media. And I had experience with running ad campaigns before, and so I kind of knew what worked. But just to refresh myself, I bought like 3 or 4 books on AdWords. I read a lot of AdWords related blogs as well. And I had also gone to like a few conferences too, like Internet Retailer and PubCon, where they talked about stuff like this. Okay. And so, I just tried getting as many resources as I could. And I set up all the ad campaigns and stuff myself. And I ran all of that for the first year on my own before eventually hiring somebody to take care of it.
Oh, wow. Okay. So now on your product side, were you just drop shipping, or were you, so I think you said you had some inventory, but some of it you were drop shipping?
Yeah. Almost all of it I actually had like in the second bedroom of my apartment. Okay. So it's just littered across the floor because I wasn't smart enough to just get shelves like at IKEA or Home Depot or whatever.
Right.
So it was just a disaster, and I'm having to like tiptoe over all of this equipment. But some of them were willing to drop ship it. But the majority of it was me actually like packing stuff and then driving to the post office.
Gotcha. Okay. And so that's kind of like the beginning stages and stuff. And so let me ask you this. What has been the biggest struggle for you growing this business in particular?
I'm trying to think of the right word here.
And I know that there's going to be different things, right? There's always different things, but and you're in the electronics, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like that's a whole nother animal in my world.
It's awful. Nobody should do this. But so we can talk about stuff like that. But I will say that my biggest struggle has just been myself. Like I don't want to say I'm an inherently lazy person, but I do get like content. I do my best when I'm competing against somebody or when there's like something going on. So like for the last month, I've been working on a project that really has me motivated, and I'm turning out some really great work. But there was like a 2 or 3 year period in there where I could have been doing all sorts of things to grow this company, like focusing on not being so dependent on AdWords and like taking the time to actually make some really great articles and generate some SEO traffic and maybe start manufacturing my own products. But instead, I just didn't do anything at all. Like I would wake up in the morning and I'd pull up my phone and I'd look at sales and I'd be like, you know what? That's pretty good. I don't really need to do anything today. And then I would just like go and, just do nothing related to work at all other than like fulfill orders and handle customer service stuff. So yeah, I don't know. There was a point where money just wasn't doing it for me anymore. And I was just really disengaged with the business. And I'm paying for that now.
Yeah, you're playing catch up, right?
Yeah, just I'm kind of my own worst enemy in some respects, but
so like you said, like dependent on AdWords, and I'm glad that you brought that up because AdWords is a channel of traffic, right? It's a place where you go to get traffic, and we talk a lot about that as far as like being dependent on Amazon or being dependent on eBay or Etsy or whatever. Yeah. And you mentioned building out content and possibly getting SEO. Do you still feel that that's something that businesses and brands should be doing, even though it's a longer road?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. Because I can take a look at what, like, let's just say I'm looking at in my own niche, right? I don't know about other people's niches, but let's just talk about mine for a second. Like, I think it's wide open. I do think I've built up a little bit of a moat around myself too, because I have this, none of my competition, they don't get in the media. Like I'm pretty okay at getting in the media, I think. And so that helps me do things like build backlinks to my website, right? Which helps my SEO, or like helps me get on the Tim Ferris podcast and brings me in front of a whole different audience who had no idea that my industry existed at all, right? Because typically the only people that shop with me, like they're Googling because they think that a GPS tracker is going to solve their problems or whatever. They'll see my ad, they'll click through, but costs per clicks are getting higher and higher. Ask anyone. I mean, it's just getting more and more expensive. But taking the time to do really great content, make good videos, informative articles, set up all kinds of crazy email flows and stuff in Klaviyo, like I think the potential is just incredible. And that's what has me really excited now, is actually growing this company and taking out all of my competitors who don't really seem to be doing a whole lot of this at all. And so I think there's a lot of your audience, they have a lot of opportunity in their niches too. They just need to take a look and see what their competitors are doing, use tools like Ahrefs. I'm really big on that. Find out what their competition's doing, how they're ranking and what content they're putting out, and just do something like that. Make it better. I think there's all sorts of little small things that we can be doing to improve our SEO, our paid ads. And yeah, you don't want to get too dependent on one channel like I've been over the years, like with AdWords. So like your listeners probably over dependent on Amazon. Yep. I'm definitely over dependent on AdWords. Like they could shut down my account like tomorrow and I'd be in big trouble. But yeah, that's why we're investing in other things like increasing customer, order frequency, getting more organic traffic, getting in the media, starting to manufacture our own products so that we can get better margins, and then get maybe like sell wholesale to some of our competitors, or get it.
Right. There you go.
So yeah.
Let me ask you this, because your product could be a tough one to have a repeat customer, right? Like you buy,
gosh, yes.
Right. You buy some cameras and you put them up and it solves the problem. You get to do surveillance on your house, whatever, right? What do you do to, I guess, get people to buy more or refer you? Like, is there anything in your marketing right now that's allowing you to to build out your shopping cart with a little bit more to the order, and also getting new people in by referrals or whatever.
Sure. I will say that I'm still figuring this out, and
aren't we all?
I'm not a genius. I'm not a genius when it comes to this. In fact, there was a period where I was just convinced. I was convinced that we didn't need to email our customers. Why? Because we had tried emailing them, and a lot of them would email us back, and they're like, "Are you crazy? Don't email me. I don't want to get anything from your company at all." Because a lot of these people, they're like getting like a hidden camera or whatever to find out what's going on like in their family, like kids and spouse or whatever. And they like all share emails. And if they get a receipt from Spy Guy or whatever, they're like, we get customers that get upset because we send them order confirmation emails. No joke. And so I'm like, okay, forget this. We're not emailing our customers. But eventually I came to my senses and I was like, all right, we're emailing our customers. And it's been like one of the best things that we've ever done. It's just emailing them to keep them updated with new products. We email customers, and all of this stuff is being automated too through Klaviyo, which I think is great. But like if a customer buys a GPS tracker, but they didn't get the magnetic case that comes separately, but you need that so you can stick it underneath the car. And so we'll remind them like, hey, you got this tracker, but we really think that you should get this magnetic case to go with it. That ends up great. And then also putting upsells. So if people add that tracker to their cart, then it says, hey, we think you should get this tracker to go with it. Or, hey, we've noticed that people who buy this tracker, they also get this other item, right? And then also, I haven't pulled the trigger on this yet because I'm still trying to figure out how to make it work. But we do see a lot of orders that come in from like law enforcement and private investigators. And so I kind of want to start a special program for them because they go through our equipment a lot faster because they're using it so much. And so like maybe it like gets damaged or whatever and they need another one, or maybe they have people that they work with that are interested in this sort of thing. And so I'd like to get something going with those customers. And then also government contracts. That's something that came on my radar just like in the last month or so. I found out I have this competitor and I've always wondered how they're getting their reputation is that they push a lot of product. And I've done all the competitive research on the website. I've tried figuring out, I've used Ahrefs to figure out how much traffic they're getting and other tools to see how much they're spending on Facebook and on Google AdWords. And it doesn't look like they're spending much at all. I found out they're getting it all through government contracts. And so now that's a whole nother opportunity for me.
And you discovered that by going through Ahrefs?
Ahrefs. I don't know how to pronounce it.
I know, me neither. It's Ahrefs, right?
Yeah. And but then like SEMrush or SpyFu for the paid ad stuff. And so, I've also found recently that introducing new products, like my industry is kind of stagnant. There's not a whole lot of people making these items, which is why I've gotten into manufacturing some of these products. Because we talk to our customers and we find out what they want. And a lot of times it's something that we don't actually sell, but we hear it so often that we're like, okay, you know what, maybe we should go ahead and make this product. And so now I have a hardware company that I've kind of partnered with, I guess you could say. And so we're developing all these different ideas for products that we think are going to be really popular with customers.
And that's smart. Okay, let me ask you this, because I know this is another one. Like people would say like, okay, content. How much content can you create around surveillance? Right? You know what I mean? Like it's not like how to catch more fish or something, right? It's like how to catch your wife cheating or whatever, or vice versa. Like, so what would someone, to wrap their head around it, like, is there content that you can create other than like how to set this stuff up and how to take it out of the box?
So this is where I'm really revealing like how little I've done. Basically, I have a Asana board where we have more than 100 content ideas for just blog posts and articles, and we have barely written any of them whatsoever.
Wow.
Just because we've had things on autopilot for so long. But I've bought several different books on content. So can I recommend a few? if anyone, or well, maybe we can get them in the show notes. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't even remember the name off the top of my head.
Yeah. We'll drop anything that you have. Just send it to me, and we'll just drop it in the show notes.
Sure.
For sure.
So I read a few books on content marketing. There's some really good blogs that are out there, and some of them talk about how to come up with different blog ideas. And so basically, we came up with different categories of ideas. So like how to articles. So like how to pick a GPS tracker, how to use a GPS tracker, or how to use products. And then we have buyer's guides. So most people that shop with us, they have no idea what product they need. They just got a problem, and then they want the product that solves that problem. Right. And none of these people have used a hidden camera or GPS tracker before. So we talk about like, how do you find a hidden camera? How do you set up a hidden camera? How do you catch employee theft? How do you find out if your kid's a drug dealer? Right. We get those calls. They're like, I think my kid's a drug dealer and I need to put a tracker on his car. And then we have different articles for private investigators or people who are thinking about using private investigators, like 10 reasons you should not hire a private investigator, or 10 reasons you should hire a private investigator. There's all sorts of like these nifty little angles that you can take with people who are using our products or want to know more about them. And we've been able to brainstorm about 100 different ideas that we're like really excited about and have started writing and throw those up on the website so that we can start getting traffic for those keywords that we're going to be putting in those articles that will hopefully drive traffic to our website.
Yeah, no, I think that's really smart. And I think, like you said, I mean, there's ways you can do it, but also look at your competition, and stuff, and see what they've been writing about. If they haven't been writing about anything, well, then that's actually another opportunity for you. But like you said, you got to be creative with it, but you got to think about the how-tos, I think, is a big one. And there's a bunch of different areas or different categories. Like you said, it could be, trying to figure out where your kids are going without them knowing it and tracking them. You know what I mean? It's crazy that we got to do this stuff, but it's what people are actually searching for. So I could totally see that. Okay. The other thing is, real quick before we wrap up, is, and I'm sure you've already explored this, I think maybe you and I even might have talked about it, was actually having a monitoring system. Right? Like having a subscription where people would monitor. Is there anything in the plans for that for you, or are you partnering with someone? So like with GPS trackers, they do get recurring revenue. And that's why we like GPS trackers, because they have a monthly charge due to the data plan that they have. It's like a GPS tracker, it knows its location from a satellite out in space or whatever, but then it needs to tell the person where it is. And so it uses just like an AT&T or Verizon network to send that signal. Yep. And that's a monthly fee. So that's recurring revenue. And that's why we can't bid on GPS tracker as like a keyword term on AdWords, because you have all these fleet management companies that are spending like $10 a click or whatever. And they're selling trackers at a loss so that they can make it up on the back end with the recurring revenue. So we're not big enough that we can compete with that right now. But we do get excited when a customer purchases a GPS tracker from us, because that does mean some monthly recurring revenue. Monitoring service, cool. I don't know anything about alarm services or anything like that, unfortunately. Because the one that's blown up is the Ring, right? The doorbell. I mean, that's huge.
Yes, yeah, really massive. Smart.
And that was a Shark Tank product.
It was, yeah. I saw that after they sold on to Amazon. I saw that clip of them online.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's a great model. I mean, I would love to just do some more I would love to do some more broad surveillance stuff, like actually sell like security systems or like, I mean, recurring revenue would be great. I would totally recommend, if somebody's looking for an idea for like a new niche to get into something with recurring revenue, get into something that is consumable. Right. So you get customers that are making repeat orders and stuff, because my industry is just electronics don't have the best margins. Most of our customers are not repeat customers. There's no recurring revenue. That stuff's really important if you want to grow a business. So, yeah.
No, that's good. That's really good stuff. All right, man. Well, hey, I mean, we could go on for another hour, I'm sure, but we want to, obviously respect your time and the listeners' time. I think your story is amazing. I think it's awesome just to kind of even share, even if we didn't even get into your business, just the background as far as how you got to where you are, I think is incredible. And for people listening, understand that what you're doing today doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be your lifelong work. It's the thing that's helping you or teaching you to get to where you want to go. And I think you're going to change as you grow, right? As you get older, as you experience new things, and those pivots are going to be normal. Just, be on the lookout for them because they will appear. And I think you've done a really good job of demonstrating that just by sharing your story. So I want to thank you for that. Is there any last little bits of advice for anyone that's thinking about either getting into the e-commerce space and also maybe just people that are currently in the e-commerce space? Any last little bits of words of wisdom that you could give someone?
Read a lot. There's a lot of really amazing information out there. Just publish books or just blog posts or online forums. There's so much info out there. Like, honestly, most of my time has just, even since I was a little kid, just trying to figure out how to play the guitar. Like, there's some really amazing, helpful people on online forums. And so Reddit or just any niche websites that have forums enabled. There's all sorts of useful blogs. There's podcasts. There's YouTube videos. There's more information out there now than ever before. It's all right there. You'd be a joker not to pay attention to all the stuff that people
absolutely
out, because you can there's enough information out there for you to make some incredible stuff, to just do incredible things. And you just really need to pay attention and put in the effort, and it's easier than ever.
I agree.
Find other people to take the journey with. It's always better to do stuff with friends than it is to just go at it alone, whether it's I'm not necessarily saying business partners, but find other people who are interested in the same things that you are. Hang out with them. Environment is everything. So if you're feeling really isolated and nobody gets, I felt that way for a long time. I live in a suburb of Dallas, and none of my friends are interested in running online businesses and traveling and working out of cafes and stuff. But you got to find those people that are interested in the same thing as you are, because you'll motivate each other to be better. I think that's mostly it. Just meet people in person too. I live in Dallas. It's really annoying to have to go to Fort Worth. But when I found out Scott was doing this event, I was like, all right, it's totally worth it to drive for an hour to get over to Fort Worth in this traffic, just so I can meet him and the other people that they were just meeting up for drinks at the hotel while Scott was scoping out his event space. And I met a lot of really cool people there. And I found out one of them, most of them are in the Dallas area. And so now I'm meeting up with all these other e-commerce sellers I didn't even know. And so you got to get out of you got to get off the computer chair and go out and meet people. It's really important. And so I've met more people, I'm getting to meet a lot more people through these connections that I'm making with people in person than I'm making friends online. I don't know if I said that effectively very, very well.
It's exactly right. And again, just being able to have you on the show now and meeting you and, in person, there's something different about that. And I agree. I think a lot of the connections that I've made have come from meeting people in person or just online. So getting around those people is really, really important.
It is.
I'm glad you brought that up. So how can people connect with you if they want to connect with you or if they want to learn more about you?
So I'm mostly active on Twitter. My handle is my name, Allen, Allen, third, because I'm the third Allen in my family.
Okay.
So ALLENTHIRD. I hate that I can't even get my own name. I just want /Allen Walton, and it's not even available. It's not even a common name.
Oh, that's hysterical.
So I'm active on there. Reach out. I love to help. I also have my business website, which is spyguy.com. If you need any spy gear, feel free to go there. And then I also have my website, allenwalton.com. There's not a whole lot on there. I threw it up at the last second, when they told me that my Tim Ferris interview was going to go online 3 weeks before it was scheduled to. So I crammed and pulled an all-nighter writing just a couple blog posts on the website just for Tim's audience. So there might be a couple things on there that you find useful. So I talk about a lot of stuff that I wish I had mentioned on Tim's podcast, all the tools I use to run my business. But feel free to reach out, and I'm happy to help. I like getting to know people who are interested in this sort of stuff. And that's it. Thanks for having me.
That's awesome, man. Alan, thank you so much for taking time out of your day. You're an all-around great guy, and I wish we had more time. We might have to have you back on and dig into that story about you, thinking that you weren't going to make it out there alive, and then you ended up surviving. So maybe we'll have to share that one on the next
There's
episode.
A bunch of stories just within that one story.
Yeah, I know. It was incredible. It was incredible. So, Alan, thank you so much. I appreciate it, and I'll definitely be probably meeting you at an event somewhere, sometime in the upcoming year, and would really look forward to hanging out with you once again. So I appreciate you, man.
Definitely. Thanks, Scott.
All right. Well, I wasn't kidding, right? That was great. And let me just say something. I'm going to probably have Alan back on again because I need him to share that story of him going to China and not knowing if he was ever going to come out alive. It was a pretty crazy story, but he's a go-getter. He does talk about wanting to live the 4-hour work week, and he does at times, but then he also gets antsy and he says, holy crap, I probably should do something. And it's funny how we all kind of fall into these different, just different, I guess, chapters in our life, or these different seasons. It's part of being an entrepreneur, and it's what we love about it, but also what annoys us or frustrates us at times. But when you get around people like Alan, and like he was saying, like he didn't realize there was even people in his area until he came to our meetup, and then he's like, wow, I guess we should probably create something here and do it, or come to your event. So it is great to be able to bring like-minded people together. There's some magic that happens. And I can pretty much trace a lot of my success, or just even my connections, to meeting people in person, whether that's at a meetup like Kevin Sanderson, who now is my event coordinator for Brand Accelerator Live. Met him because he was a listener, showed up at 2 different TAS meetups, presented this idea to me, and said, let me at least come back with something that I think could work for you and your audience. And I think that it'll be great. And he did, and here we are, and we're going to have our first ever live event called Brand Accelerator Live. It's just crazy how things happen, but I met him in person. We shook hands. We had a beer together. We looked at each other in the eyes. We could see that we definitely resonated with each other. And here we are, right? That's the power of live events. So again, my little shameless plug here, Brand Accelerator Live. Go there, grab a ticket if you haven't done so already, or go there and see if there's any available. And if not, get yourself on a wait list. So this way here, we can let you know if anything comes up. All right. So brandacceleratorlive.com. It's happening in September, 2019. And I'm super excited about it because there's people like Alan that you get to meet and hang out with. And it's just those like-minded people are so important in our businesses, but also in our lives. So, that's why I'm a big fan of being at live events. All right. So guys, that's going to wrap it up. The show notes can be found at theamazingseller.com/713. And from there, you can grab the show notes, the transcripts, also some resources that he's going to give me, some of the things that he mentioned, he actually tracked down, and he's going to, or he gave them to me so I can put them on the show notes page. So definitely go check that out. theamazingseller.com/713. All right, guys. So that's it. That's going to wrap it up. As always, remember, I'm here for you. I believe in you, and I am rooting for you. But you have to, come on, say it with me, say it loud, say it proud, take action. Have an awesome, amazing day, and I'll see you right back here on the next episode.